terms of punching power, even though he is the champion. And his performance against Jimmy Paul to win the title was one that erased a lot of doubts, but I think people still wonder how big a hitter he is.
It was a really good win for him, though. Not only the fact that he won the title, but beating a guy who everybody was talking about as the champion.
Haugan getting off better first in this first round. He's the one that seems to be able to, even though he's not landing everything he's throwing, he's the one that's sharper.
Jab by Haugan, both displaying a pretty good jab early in this fight. Double jab from Pazienza.
The characteristic mugging from Vinny Pazienza. He is nothing if not a showman. Of course, he'll have the hometown crowd solidly behind him during the course of this fight.
Haugan working the jab very nicely. This is back in Auburn, Washington, Haugan's hometown, and that's his family. Tempo first round. Not surprising. Pretty good left hook from Pazienza.
That was a left hook from Paz that may have stunned Haugan. After Haugan really won the first 2/3 of this round.
Coming to the end of round number 1. And we'll be back.
Exciting rewards, like flights on Canadian Airlines.
We start the second round. Here was action at the end of the first round. Perfectly consistent with the personality of both these guys.
They are a little bit contentious. And the headbutts there, it wasn't exactly as good as Sweet Daddy Siki, but not bad.
Then Pazienza grabbing Haugan's hand with his elbow. Clutching it to his waist.
And of course, Greg Haugan, who started out his career in tough man contests, knows a little something about some wacky tactics in the ring, doesn't he? You know, Barry, a lot will depend in this fight on who can establish the jab the better. It's the best. It's really a staple for both men in their attack.
Pazienza has a little bit of a lazy right hand. He's definitely there for a left hook. Haugan, not necessarily a guy who is a powerhouse, though, with a left hook. Good right hand from Pazienza. But he has a tendency to get a little bit cute sometimes.
The crowd actually a little quiet at this point. Pazienza has not really gotten them into it.
If he's going to knock you out, he's not going to do it with one punch. He's the guy who goes in there thinking, I'm going the distance, I'm going to throw a million jabs, do what I can in the way of power punches, and get out with a decision.
Look how he cuts off the ring, though, nicely against Pazienza.
Left hook that time. And he took a right hand for his efforts. Crowd obviously is going to react to Pazienza much more than they are to Greg Haugan. So it can be misleading.
Two evenly matched lightweights, really. Haugan the champion, but Pazienza and he are almost mirror images of each other, really, especially when Pazienza is fighting a little more flat-footed as he is now.
A little clash of heads there a moment ago also. Little to choose between these two through the first 2 rounds. Each has had his moments. Wild right hand from Pazienza. again a clash of heads. End of round 2.
The left hook by Greg Haugan, not his best punch, but he got it there. But here's Pazienza coming off the ropes, literally bouncing off the ropes, an illegal move, I might point out, and landing a right hand to the head of Haugan.
Not that unusual in the case of Vinny Pazienza. He's going to get away with what he can get away with. But you can say the same thing about Greg Haugan, the champion.
This fight could be a clinic in questionable tactics. Pazienza has a harder time moving laterally on Haugan, although in that instance, Haugan didn't cut off the ring, but to a great degree, Haugan has been cutting off the ring well.
Pazienza expends a lot of energy just being cute. Remember, this is a 15-round fight.
Nice right hand snuck in there by Haugan. If there's one power punch that you have to say is his stock and trade, it's the right hand, straight right.
Pretty good uppercut, and that got Haugan backing up.
That's the characteristic Pazienza, kind of wild swinging from odd angles, and oftentimes it works for him.
Well, he's quick enough to get away with it.
Ironically, while Haugan's biggest victory came over a Paul, so did Pazienza's, beating Melvin Paul, knocking him out in 2 rounds. Maybe the best guy he's fought to date before Haugan.
Pazienza not having too much trouble avoiding the jab of Haugan right now.
But Vinny has done precious little offensively in this round, and even around the previous round, really. Not throwing a lot of punches. And even though Haugan's not landing a lot, he's the one that's busy.
Once again, bouncing off the ropes, but he missed that right hand. This round so far, much ado about not very much. Most of those were caught on the arms of Haugan. And then Haugan missed a right hand coming back. There again, his family watching in Auburn, Washington. Good uppercut once more from Pazienza. He's finding a home for that.
He's starting to throw a few more combinations, Vinny Pazienza. He was doing none of that in the first couple of rounds.
End of round number 3, and we'll be back. You're looking into the corner of Greg Haugan as he prepares to come out for round number 4. Haugan the champion, Vinny Pazienza the challenger. Pazienza in the white trunks, Haugan in the blue. Close fight so far. Pazienza the stronger punches, but Haugan more of them.
There's a combination punching from Pazienza. We're starting to see it now, and that is what makes him special when he's fighting well. Coming into this fight, many people feeling that Pazienza was destined to win some kind of crown, and they had hoped really that he would get in here against Haugan.
Does it surprise you at all that Haugan would take this fight right in Pazienza's backyard?
Yeah, in Providence, maybe not the most judicious decision on his part, but hoping that he can do enough to make sure he wins this fight. Well, both men having a hard time landing a clean shot. They're throwing, but they're not landing with really good shots.
Haugan not doing much with that jab since the first 2 rounds.
right hand was a good one by Haugan. Haugan tends to slap with the right hand.
Pazienza, of course, chatting him up a little bit.
They're doing more commentary in the ring than we're doing outside it.
Inside 30 seconds remaining in this round.
You know what's surprising to this point in this match, and I'll tell you what's surprising, is that neither man has gone to the body much.
Haugan started to work to the body a little bit, but Pazienza really proving an elusive target so far. End of round number 4, and we're coming back to Providence. Final words to Greg Haugan. Round number 5 now. Close fight. Neither man really able to get on track against the other. Each has had his moments.
There are some, of course, coming into this match. You had the feeling that Pazienza's hand and foot speed would simply be too much for Haugan. That has not been the case. It's been fought on pretty equal terms. And if anything, it's been Haugan who's probably done a little bit more. And even in terms of quickness, Pazienza hasn't dazzled him.
The right hand just a little short from Haugan, and so too was Pazienza with his right hand. Pazienza cheering and also doing a little praying in the corner.
Right now, Greg Haugan is beating Vinny Pazienza to the punch on a regular basis. And I think by and large in these early rounds, he has shown just a smidge more quickness and getting off first in most cases. Maybe a surprise to some.
Pazienza missing a lot more in these last couple of rounds. One of the few clinches that we've had in this fight. Left hand from Haugan, but Pazienza was moving backwards. Another one of those moves that we talked about as Haugan bounced off the ropes. Pazienza hit him with the right hand. But again, I hasten to point out, the crowd is going to react a lot more here in Providence to Pazienza than they are to Haugan.
It's a little body work by Haugan, but he has not done that much of it. And in this round, Pazienza has come to life in the second part of the round.
Took a left hand, however, right there.
He's walking into a lot of short little left hooks by Haugan.
Got an uppercut of his own in. 30 seconds remaining, round 5. Conversations between these two continue. Very difficult fight to score so far. End of round 5. 6 coming up. Haugan the champion, Pazienza the challenger, but it's being fought in Providence near the home of the challenger, Vinny Pazienza. And Pazienza comes out working the jab.
And the side headlock.
Hulk Hogan would be proud.
Yes, indeed.
Come on, get out of there. Get out of there. Come on. Let's stop that nonsense now. Let's fight. Let's fight clean.
Admonishments from Wally Smith as he tells both fighters, let's fight. He's going to have a hard time controlling some of the extracurricular activities in the ring here tonight.
Pazienza almost content to fight Haugan at long range.
which would be a good strategy if he were landing the jab on a regular basis to set up other punches, but he's not.
He's almost out of punching range, actually.
Yeah,
all the time.
that's exactly it. Here's Haugan with a couple of jabs that get through the defense of Pazienza.
Good right hand from Pazienza.
It's been, for Pazienza, I think, kind of a rough performance. He's not as sharp with his punches, I don't think, as he'd like to be. Haugan might not be either, but Haugan has been, in my mind, just a little bit sharper with his punches. There's a good example.
Nice combination. Brought the right hand right behind the jab. Another clash of heads.
Break! Stand back! Come on! Come on! Come here! Stop the holding up! Come on!
Pazienza hits on the break. That was the one thing I think he hadn't done up to this point.
Right, I think he's covered it all now.
Just about everything. Has he bitten Haugan yet? No.
Rabbit punching, perhaps. Now a cut on Vinny Pazienza. And I don't know if it was from a punch or a headbutt. Cut appears to be on the cheek, however. I don't believe, while it is bloody, I don't believe it's going to be anything that would hinder him. Easy for me to say.
Yeah. And we'll see if psychologically it has any impact. Good right hand by Haugan. Greg Haugan now throwing good, sharp, short punches. And less movement from Pazienza. Look at he's standing in front of Haugan. And that's not necessarily his style.
A little blood on the face of Haugan, too, but I can't tell if that blood might not be from Pazienza. End of round 6, and we're going to take it into the corner of Vinny Pazienza. Luduva, an experienced hand. A little bit of work to do.
Nice and easy. There's no cut. Nah. He's cut. Look, Vinny, look. Who's cut? He is. His nose is all busted up now. It's starting to bust open on him. Vinny, look. What you got to do with this guy here, Vinny, you're giving him too much room. You're giving him. You're walking in and you're running after the guy. I want you to jab his chest, and then take off. Now, the reaction punches, you're not doing good. On the reaction, I want you to see you take off. Okay? Now, come on. Come on, kid. Right? Jab his head, and go to work on his body. Okay? Let me see you get low. Give him some water, Lou. Come on.
Here is Haugan with one of the left hooks we talked about and following up with the right hand. The left hook has been a better weapon in this fight for Haugan than I think some people might have suggested. Barry, you mentioned earlier it's not one of his major punches, and yet it's worked in this fight. Good advice from Luduva, by the way, to jab your way in at the chest, then take off with your combinations is what they want.
Interesting conversation between Luduva and Vinny Pazienza. Pazienza asked him, who's cut? And Luduva said he is. His nose is all busted up. The truth of the matter is, right now, neither man is marked. But there was clearly blood on the cheek of Pazienza in the last round. But it is possible, I suppose, could have come from the nose of Greg Haugan.
And if there's a winner in the psychological war right now, it might be Haugan, who had a very good round in the last round and now is chatting away to Vinny Pazienza, mugging a little bit, letting him know that he thinks he's taking control.
Seen either man really take control so far. Haugan, as you said, has been perhaps a little bit more consistent. Pazienza, though, is getting a little bit closer to Haugan now.
And of course, that's what they were urging him to do in his corner, jab your way in and be closer. But see, Haugan is winning the battle of the jab. Even when his jab doesn't land, and look there, he feints Pazienza, gets him to go back. Greg Haugan's the most experienced, I think, maybe not the most experienced, the craftiest guy that Pazienza has faced to date. And it's showing.
Good right hand from Haugan. That actually rocked Pazienza.
A nice short right hand. Pazienza walking right into it. That was because he didn't jab his way in.
Head to the chin from Pazienza. Pazienza on the chin of Greg Haugan.
finally some good body work. This time it was done by Pazienza. At 23 years old, Vinny is at a stage in his career where some are wondering if he's ready for a big fight like this. And in my mind, he's showing a little bit of the concern or the anxiety that any young fighter would have, and not as fluid as he has been in some other fights. And let's give Haugan some credit for that also.
Yeah, Haugan is really dictating how this fight is going to be fought. Pazienza hasn't quite figured that out yet. Again, a little bit of blood. This time it appears to be from the left eye of Greg Haugan. End of round number 7. We'll be back.
Just because you grew up without a job.
Look at the cut on the face of Greg Haugan. It appears to be alongside the eye, which is not as much of a problem as if it were in the brow. Good left hand from Pazienza. Haugan says, come on.
Well, Haugan's chin is excellent. It was tested by some Jimmy Paul right hands, and Jimmy Paul has some power. And there was an elbow to the head. Maybe that was the move we hadn't seen by Pazienza yet.
Pazienza looks intent on turning this into a brawl. Haugan does not let that happen yet.
Which is ironic. Here's Haugan, the man that started out in the tough man contest. He is really boxing more as a classic boxer-puncher here.
Once again, the family of Greg Haugan. That is back in Auburn, Washington, where they are watching on television. A little concern in some of those eyes.
Wondering whether their guy is going to get the kind of shake he should get.
Very festive atmosphere here in Providence.
Yes, indeed, is it ever. This crowd anxious for Vinny Pazienza to get off the dime, and he does it right there.
Good left hand. Pazienza, without question, picking tempo up in this round. Again, blood from the cheek of Pazienza. Good left hand again by Pazienza.
There's the jab of Haugan getting there as Pazienza tries to throw that wild right hand.
Pazienza is fighting this round like a guy who basically is just saying, hey, I'm going to dance with what brung me. Uppercut was a little short.
Pazienza throws that from too far up, but sometimes he can get away with it.
Once again, full headlock. Headed for the end of round number 8. Better round for Vinny Pazienza. End of 8.
This fight was turning out to be exactly what everyone expected. A lot of action, a lot of excitement. And the crowd in Providence, Rhode Island, well, they were into it, rooting on their hometown hero, Vinny Pazienza. But Greg Haugan didn't seem to be affected by the home crowd. He was fighting his fight. But Pazienza was doing what he always does. The Tasmanian Devil was very active, throwing lots of combinations. And all in all, it was making for an exciting fight. Let's push on now to round 10 of Haugan and Pazienza.
Last words to Greg Haugan as we start the 10th round. Pazienza starting to turn things a little bit in the last couple of rounds. Both men have been cut, but neither appears to be any sort of a problem right at the moment.
up jab by Haugan. He's gone to that as a weapon to try and get a little more power on his jab and also to land it better. The straight jab wasn't getting there for a while. Again, Haugan going down to the body. Greg Haugan's not a bad body puncher, and we've seen a little bit less of it in this fight. You would expect it if Pazienza was moving a lot, but he hasn't moved that much.
A low blow somewhere in that last exchange. Haugan just kind of peppering Pazienza, just trying to keep him off of him.
Both men really, especially Pazienza, being a little bit timid here in the 10th round.
Very tough fight to score, I would have to think.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of close rounds, but I would think Haugan at this juncture would have the upper hand only because he's just been sharper with his punches.
Left hand got there, but it wasn't as great a punch as the crowd would lend you to believe.
Pazienza starting, though, to get some combinations and some power punches going here.
End of round 10. We'll be back.
Each week, come aboard for
Ledugo with the final word to Vinny Pazienza as he comes out for the 11th round. Greg Haugan, the champion. This for Haugan's IBF lightweight title.
There's the jab of Haugan, and if there's one punch that might give somebody an edge in this fight, it would be Haugan's jab, which has been by and large more effective than Pazienza's. And there is graphic example of what I'm talking about. Pazienza missing with almost all those jabs.
Pazienza shaking his hand as though it might have hurt it a little bit. Pazienza's right hand, well, he threw it right there. It missed.
Pazienza coming with something after the jab, but look there, he tries to throw punches and instead walks into a Haugan jab.
Good body shot. It almost doubled Haugan over. Very good sequence for Pazienza. Pazienza every now and then will step to the side and crank a left uppercut, and is he there for a left-hand counter punch?
This is a round in which the showier punches have belonged to Pazienza, but the question is, has Haugan been more solidly effective? It's hard to tell. puncher, and we've seen evidence of that in this bout so far. Even when they land something of significance, it's not having a huge effect.
End of the 11th round. We start the 12th round. Greg Haugan, the champion, in the blue. Vinny Pazienza in the white. And Pazienza comes out all business. Warm night here in Providence. It does not seem to affect either fighter so far.
And they have fought at a fairly quick pace here over the first 12 rounds or so. Actually, a very quick pace. Those are the wild uppercuts. You keep talking about how wide open he is for a left hook from that. And Haugan, interestingly, has not even tried to counter. And Haugan's a pretty good counterpuncher, so surprising that he hasn't been able to affect that.
Wally Smith, the referee, has kept a monologue going for the better part of this fight.
Actually, among the three guys in the ring, it's hard to tell who has been more talkative.
It's true. Taking on the break.
This is a three-punch combination from Haugan, two of which were blocked, and even the one that landed wasn't dramatic. But in this fight, you're measuring things in smaller increments.
Blood from the nose now of Vinny Pazienza. Both corners have done a very good job on cuts.
Yeah, that's a good point, Barry. Go, nice strike by Haugan after Pazienza had landed the left hook.
There's a headbutt from Pazienza. Haugan got the best of that exchange despite the crowd. Continues to mug a little bit, but that's all well and good. The question is he winning the fight? And I'm not too sure.
A very close fight. And at this juncture, I don't know that that's going to do him any good. That left hook may be Pazienza's best punch of the last 4 or 5 rounds.
I think that definitely got Haugan's attention. End of round 12. Better round for Pazienza. All right, Tompkins, Al Bernstein. We're about to start. All right, Tompkins, Al Bernstein. We're about to start round 13 here in Providence, Rhode Island. Battle for the IBF lightweight title. Greg Haugan, the holder. Vinny Pazienza, the challenger.
And for those people that thought it was a fluke that Haugan beat Jimmy Paul, they're finding out tonight that's not true, because he's taking on a top challenger and performing very well against him.
Left hand from Haugan.
Haugan working there in the inside. He hasn't worked too well on the inside with Pazienza.
Pazienza walking into a left hand by Haugan. It wasn't a strong punch.
That's really when Haugan has been at his best in this fight. Counter-punching when Pazienza walks into him. There's that wild uppercut from back, from far back, and boy, you should get countered on that. You really should.
Pazienza coming off 3 straight knockouts. Greg Haugan, on the other hand, has gone the distance in his last 3 fights. He's won them all, and that's the bottom line. Once again, back in Auburn, Washington.
And these are anxious moments for them because we're in the final rounds of a fight that is pretty close. Although I would think Haugan might be ahead in this bout, but we'll see. Nice right hand by Pazienza.
Pazienza's face starting to show the wear and tear of 13 rounds.
Well, there is a lump around the left eye. Pazienza looks like he might be getting a little bit fatigued, even though he's moving. Not doing too much in addition to it.
Yeah, that's a good point. He's moving, but he's moving backwards.
The blood now coming from that lump underneath the left eye of Pazienza.
And you hate to say it, but the fact that it's bleeding may actually, in its own way, not be so bad. It won't swell up and the eye won't close. And the cut is below the eye.
Good round for Greg Haugan.
End of round 13, 6 minutes of boxing to go. Round 14, and Vinny Pazienza, you would have to think, is going to have to get getting.
Certainly in the 13th round, Haugan showed he seemed to have a little more left. We'll see if Pazienza can get a second win here. You know, so many of these rounds have been fairly close. I would say, in my mind, I would lean toward Haugan in some of them. The majority of them, probably. But nevertheless, they are close rounds.
Oh, yeah. No, you make a very good point. And the fact that this is being fought in Providence, we mentioned earlier, the crowd is going to react to Pazienza. And without even implying that there's a bias on the part of the judges, there's a natural tendency to notice when the crowd reacts.
It has an impact. You know, in this round, Haugan is setting down his punches better than he has in the last 5 or 6 rounds. Even the ones to the body.
Also working a little bit more behind the jab.
Now Haugan fending off that left hook a little bit better. Well, where he left off in round 13, Haugan has taken up here in the 14th. Good counter right hand by Pazienza, and that is one of the few good counters he's thrown.
Good left hand from Haugan. And another left hand from Haugan.
He's finding a home for that punch and throwing it with a little bit more leverage than before.
Haugan has been very economical. Hasn't wasted a lot of movement, hasn't wasted a lot of punches.
And he felt, as he did it against Paul, that he would do well in the later rounds in this bout, and he's doing it.
Pazienza starting to close a little bit
and bothering him, the blood from it and the swelling.
Left hand from Pazienza, that did back Haugan up. Your point is well taken, though. I think Pazienza might be getting just a step higher. End of round 14, 1 round to go. Waiting here, get the folks in Providence pumped for the final round. He may need them.
I would think he might. Haugan has been a little bit more consistent, I think, in his effort in this bout. Ace Murata's had to work on that cut around the left eye of Pazienza. Certainly a frenzy in this area for Pazienza and for his boxing.
Very much so. It's been a hotbed of boxing over the last 10 years or so. With Marvin Hagler had several fights here in Providence.
Boy, the blood is just spurting out of that eye now for Pazienza.
Low blow from Vinny. Did get a combination in, however. How about tactically, Haugan has fought a very good fight.
Stayed within himself, what he can do. Hasn't even let any of the questionable tactics of Pazienza get him disrupted. And this is a good 15th round so far for Haugan. Really, the last 3 rounds, in my opinion, he has taken control of, and I would think, in my mind anyway, that might be enough to give him the fight.
Halfway through the final round.
Great combinations on the inside by Haugan, but then Pazienza comes back with his own.
Down to the 1-minute mark. Look at Pazienza's face. Better yet, don't look at Pazienza's face.
And Haugan making the most of his opportunity in this round with those straight right hands.
Hit him with a right a moment ago that knocked Pazienza backward. I think as much from fatigue as anything else. With a flurry of activity here. 30 seconds remaining.
In a round in which Greg Haugan, in my mind, has definitively won it. Certainly the round and very possibly the fight, in my opinion. Good double right hand by Haugan.
Pazienza missed with that last right off the ropes. Short with that one. Takes a right hand from Haugan. Misses an uppercut. It's over. To the joy of the crowd, cheering their hometown favorite. And Auburn, Washington, some doubt.
They're wondering, I guess, whether their man, Greg Haugan, will get the nod here in Providence.
So now it is in the hands of the judges. And let's listen in.
Ladies and gentlemen, a unanimous decision. Judge Clark Sammartino scores it 144 to 141. Judge Richard Bay scores it 144-141. Judge Keith McDonald scores it 144 to 142 for the winner and new IBF lightweight title holder, Vinny the Tasmanian Devil Pazienza.
Well, a wild fight to be sure. A controversial 15-round decision for Vinny Pazienza as he takes Greg Haugan's lightweight title away. Well, Haugan would take that title back because they would have a rematch some months later, this time in Atlantic City at Greg Haugan's request, and Haugan would win the decision, get his title back. A title, of course, he would ultimately lose. But Greg Haugan did go on to win another world title when he beat Hector Macho Camacho to win the WBO junior welterweight title some years later. For Vinny Pazienza, the story has been a fabled one. He would go on to lose that title, his lightweight title, of course, to Haugan, then would come back and win the junior middleweight title over Gilbert DeLay, and then suffer a broken neck in a car accident. Now Vinny Pazienza is involved in a comeback. He has made a miraculous, and some would say courageous comeback from that broken neck to fight again. But on this particular day in 1987, Vinny Pazienza and Greg Haugan got together to produce one of our super bouts, and a good one. I'm Al Bernstein. We look forward to seeing you next time on Super Bout.